Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Behind me is a car I've wanted to get on the channel for about 12 months, and finally today it's going to happen. We've even got the weather, the most beautiful backdrop, and for me, one of the best modified minis in the UK. This thing is sensational. This once was an R56 Cooper S. Now, it's had a little bit of work done, but it's party piece. It's party piece, well, maybe we should put it into that mode to start with. Because the first thing that I want to talk about, this car has the Lambo door conversion. Now, if you are a Mini fan here in the UK and you've been to any Mini car meet in the last couple of years, I'd be very, very surprised if you haven't seen this car parked up. It's a very regular visitor to Mini car meets, and they normally walk away with the best car in show. It's a stunning, stunning thing. Now, whenever I film with a modified car, I always try and ask the owner, can you just tell me what's been done on the car? And Vince, the owner of this car, sent me through the list, and it's a pretty long one. So there is absolutely no chance that I'm going to be able to remember everything. So what I'm probably going to do is drop into some voiceover, because I'm sure, like me, you will want to know all of the details of this car. But first up, from the outside, it's the attention to detail on this car. If you ever see it at a show, walk over and just spend time looking at the detail, spend time looking at the quality of what's been done to this car. So I think where I might start actually is on the interior, and then we can also have a chat about the doors. The interior of this is really special. I don't even know where to start. In fact, yes I do. I'm going to start with these Recaro seats, because they are absolutely beautiful. Carbon backed, they're heated, and I looked at them and I said to Vince, do you think they'd fit in my R59 Roadster? And apparently they would. The only downside is they're about £2,500 each. So I don't think I'll be doing that mod. The seats though, with the red trim, set it off. But when you start looking at the cabin, and I described this to someone recently, I think this has almost like a Pagani-esque feel to it. Almost every piece of normal trim that you get in a Mini has been replaced with carbon fibre, gloss carbon fibre. The facings of the Speedo have got a beautiful kind of red contrast carbon fibre work, the same as we get round here. And then the door liners are all carbon fibre. It's a very, very special place in here. Behind the driver's seats, there's a rear seat delete. But a really cool detail I'll try and get on camera is there's a Mini logo in the rear carpet, which just adds to the attention to detail. The rear strut brace at the back, again, carbon fibre. And it's just a stunning, stunning place in here. Really, very cool. Let's talk about these doors, and I think the best place to do that is on the outside of the car, and just talk about the challenge of doing these doors and how they work, because it is a fairly extreme modification, but for me it sets this car off and makes it just look that extra special. They're wicked. So let me talk to you about these incredible Lamborghini inspired doors. They're actually a kit from a German company called LSD, and they do take quite a bit of fitting. The basic kit's about £1,500, but in terms of actually getting them fitted, there's a real knack to it and a real skill to it. When they actually close, they come down and then they come across. So they're not quite like the dihedral doors you'd find on something like a McLaren, but all the work needs to take place just down here. So in terms of where the doors mount, they mount on the normal place just on the side wing here, but there is quite a bit of cutting and quite a bit of welding. Talking to Vince, about 10 hours worth of work to get the doors mounted, but then the real trick is the alignment to make sure that your shut lines look nice and that the doors open and close without fouling. But once they're on, I mean, come on, as a statement piece, once they're on, they just look absolutely incredible. I think, though, you would find that every time you park the car, you'd have to open both doors and put them up because, well, why wouldn't you? Now, next thing to talk about is what happens underneath the bonnet. Now, the headline stuff is it's basically a stage 3 Manic map from my good friends at Lowen, but there's plenty of other stuff happening underneath the engine bay. And I must say, in terms of what the engine looks like, I don't think it gets much better. Behold the magnificence. Headline figures of this engine are a Stage 3 bespoke ECU map by Manic, producing 310 bhp and 398 newton meters of torque. But to achieve this, a lot of mechanical and aesthetic work has been done. The engine's running an Owen Development hybrid turbo with forged pistons and rods, a Schrick Performance camshaft, Marley big end and main bearings, black nitride intake valves, Inconel exhaust valves, NKG 8R spark plugs, ITG panel filter, a Forge intercooler, and the gearbox has had a remap by JR Tuning. Aesthetically, you can see the red heat shield by GTT, the carbon fibre front crosslink, and carbon fibre engine rocker cover, fuse box, spark plugs and ECU. So yeah, whenever I look at this car and look at that engine bay, I then go back to my cars and realise that even when I've cleaned them up, they don't look anything like that. It is beautiful. I love the carbon fibre detailing on the bracing round there. I just love the cover, the strut brace. It's just been done so tastefully and so well. I mean, you almost want a Perspex bonnet so you can see it when you're driving around because it's that beautiful. But I think from an aesthetics point of view, this car is I appreciate quite out there. Some of you will probably think it's a little bit too much. For me, I just think it's an example of no holes barred, no boundaries, no rules. What could I do to my Mini to make it look absolutely awesome? The Lamborghini inspired doors help, but that rear spoiler on the back is a work of art when you look at it close up. The carbon diffuser, the Remus exhaust tips, it just, every place you look on this car for me, I just see things that make me happy. But the one thing that's going to make me really happy is actually driving it, because the one thing we haven't talked about yet is suspension setup, braking, transmission, and just generally how this car drives. It's got over 300 horsepower, and when you do that to an R56, it's always dramatic, but I have a feeling it's going to sound pretty good as well. So let's jump in the car, take it for a drive. Vince is going to join us because what I really want to do is get his ownership experience. You know, the last 3 years has seen a massive transformation in this car, and I'd love to kind of just get behind his thinking. What were the bits he enjoyed, the bits that were the most challenging, anything else left on the car that hasn't been done yet that he'd like to do. So let's get some cameras set up and take this car up the road for a spin. Stunning though, isn't it? Now then guys, we are out and about driving. So first off, Vince, welcome to the channel, my friend.
Hello there.
It's been a long time coming, huh? First of all, congratulations on the car. But what I really wanted to do was just get a, if you like, almost like the story of the car and you. And you've had it, what, 3 years, do you say?
No, I purchased this car in 2011.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've had it almost.
So you ran it quite a long time before you did anything to it?
Yes, it was a slow progression.
Yeah. Did you get the modifying bug, my friend?
I've always had that, you know, from day one, from childhood. I've always strived to, whenever I buy my first car, I always want to personalise it.
Yeah, yeah.
I always do my own thing,
yeah.
Make it unique.
Yeah, you've kind of done that. So, base car, R56 Cooper S. We were just saying, it had a lot of spec on it. I've never seen one with a double opening pan roof before, which is cool. And we're at the moment in, we're not in anti-social mode at the moment.
No, we're not.
No, okay. So we've talked through the significant engine upgrades under the bonnet, but then that's linked to a D-cat exhaust with no resonator and a Remus straight through back end.
Correct.
Right. That's going to sound good.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah. So is it valved at all?
Yes, it has got a valve control system.
Yeah.
It's not an electronic version because at the time when I purchased it, it didn't have one electronically. So it is manually, so it's constantly wide.
You just wound it open permanently.
Yeah.
So it is valve, but that valve isn't really being worked. Okay, fine, okay. So what were the first things you did when you got the car?
Suspension.
Yeah, so that's one thing we haven't talked about. So what's the suspension upgrades and what have we got underneath us?
So I've gone for a more traditional route with lowered eye-back springs.
Yeah.
And I went with the Coney FSDs.
Right.
Which is the frequency selective damping. So
Yeah.
it provides that sort of sharp handling, but without the harsh ride.
Yeah. And how much is it lowered by? Because it is pretty low at the front.
It's probably about 30 mil, 25 to 30 mil.
Too bad, then.
No, it's not. I didn't go aggressive.
No,
Yeah.
so my rotor's only 20.
Okay.
But you've got that beautiful carbon splitter underneath the front of the car, which I'd rip that off within about a week probably. I've nearly stood on it 3 times just doing the filming work so far. So Coney's and eyebacks, and then you've got some brakes up front which are non-standard.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Because if you're going to put 300 over 300 horsepower in a car, you need it to stop, right?
Exactly, yeah, Peter. I mean, that was, as soon as I upgraded the engine, the next thing was brakes.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of research because obviously there's a lot out there in terms of aftermarket big brake systems.
Yeah.
Obviously the obvious one is Brembo and lights, but I decided to go for K-Sport.
Oh, okay.
Which are the six piston calipers, the 2-piece. So which and for the value, for the floating discs.
Because that's quite interesting. Because that's the next upgrade I'm doing to my roads. Now I can't tell you exactly what I'm putting on mine yet, but I'm going to be getting very, very similar setup. Floating discs, big calipers. So I think that when you put that extra power in a car, the standard brakes on a Cooper S or JCW aren't that bad, but they're not designed for 300 horsepower.
No, exactly.
Now then, one of the things is I've got a Quaife limited slip diff in mind, but this is an auto.
Correct, yes.
So no diff.
No, I did ask Lowen whether it's available, but it's not available on the automatic gearboxes.
Oh man.
So yeah, I know.
Do you find that when you're pushing on in the wet and stuff? Is it a bit?
It's quite twitchy.
Yeah. Well, all minis are twitchy.
But in terms of torque steer, you can feel it.
Yeah. So we're now kind of coming out of the town a bit. We've got a few more country kind of roads. Is it a case of pushing the sport button and doing that? Does the sport button just? So does that change the map at all, or is
it
that?
Does.
It does.
Yes.
So when we hit the sport button, what are we going from and to?
Oh well, the boost is increased, and then obviously the sharpness and the throttle response, etc. It just goes crazy. And then you also get a lot more pops and bangs.
More pops and bangs.
Yes,
Go on, hit sport button. Go on. So there's two remarkable things about that. The on-throttle noise is fantastic. And then obviously the AK-47 firing out the back.
Yeah.
Now I get similar pops and bangs to that on in mine, but it's that on-throttle noise, that is...
It's literally there. I mean, with the automatic gearbox, which is, again, has been retuned to calibrate with the engine ECU. So.
Oh wow!
It's intoxicating.
Yeah. very kindly let me drive his baby. I can imagine you don't let many people drive this car.
No, anyone who wants to drive it, I'm more than like to share the experience for sure.
It's so a couple of things straight away. The steering wheel, not only does it look good, but it's really chunky and contoured on the back. So today's costing me a lot of money, Vin, because I keep having to think about things I now want to stick on my Roadster. Because I have thought about a flat bottom steering wheel upgrade on my Roadster.
This one came from America.
Really?
It took me quite some time to get hold of that one, at least 6 weeks.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
The other thing I was saying is, although I've got my JCW Clubman is a Mini Auto, I've never driven an R Series Auto. So lots of firsts today. So we're just in the normal mode at the moment, just while we drive through this quaint, leafy English village on a Sunday morning, without waking everybody up.
Who's that hooligan?
But what you were saying, so from the passenger seat, you kind of feel it, but as a driver, actually in this normal mode, it just feels like a normal Mini.
Yeah.
Even the suspension isn't that crashy or firm. It sits really nicely. You know that there's something special going on because every now and again you lift off and someone lets off some gunfire out the back of the car. But it doesn't feel super racy or tight or intimidating at all.
That's true. Yes, it's almost got
which is
dual
good.
personality.
Let me just go. There we go. So that's not in sport mode.
No.
Oh, well, we don't have a very long bit of road, so I'm going to have to put it into sport mode. So it changes the map. Got more boost on the turbo, I'm guessing?
Yes, boost is a turbo. Added boost.
Mate, this is naughty. This is really, really naughty. It's got a bit of lag, and then at about 3.5, it just lifts its skirt and lets rip.
You need to downshift a bit, and then it will.
I thought my Roadster was torque steering. That is like woo!
Yeah.
And the thing is, for me, and you're a Mini fan, right? I love that characteristic in a Mini.
Yeah.
I love the fact you have to feel like you have to hold on to it, otherwise it's going to spit you into a ditch.
That's proper driving.
Yeah. Oh, mate.
So obviously this has got the full automatic, but obviously you got manual, and then you just got
And you got the little buttons.
on your paddle shifts, yeah. So if you want the full instant power, you've got to drop the gears.
Yeah.
Unless you're flooring, and then it will automatically drop the gears. But if you've got instant, it's almost like you're driving a manual. You would normally drop down the gears, I mean, for you, Peter, you've driven so many cars. I've not driven that many Minis, so I can't really compare.
So I would put this in terms of tune and special Mini. I drove the Mulgari Icon 2.
Oh, nice.
And that was actually a really civilised but incredibly well set up and very fast car. So again, similar output to this power-wise. It wasn't quite as raucous and as naughty. And then the other one is Chili, the Lowen, the 400 horsepower Lowen car.
Yes.
Now that's really very, very special.
That's a proper racing
But
car.
that's a racing car, and you really feel like it's a racing car. You know, you've got your cage in there, you're in a race bucket seat. This is a very interesting mix between the two of those, because you feel like you're in a normal road car, a very special one, but the performance is just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's got that comfort factor.
Yeah.
It's
It's lively.
Lively, I know.
It's
Hold
really,
on.
really like, my goodness. You got yokies on this, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah, on throttle, you really do have to hang on to it. Mate, that on throttle noise, it's just superb.
I know.
Wow.
It's,
Mate, I've noticed we're at a red light. I think I'm going to draw the video to a close and hand you the keys back before I do any damage to it. It's a beautiful thing. A real beautiful. Thank you so much for letting me drive it.
no problem.
Guys,
My pleasure.
I hope you've enjoyed that. I mean, what a thing. I mean, what I love about cars like this is the time and effort and joy of you not only doing the mods, but you must spend hours cleaning this car. It's spotless.
Do I enjoy it? Yeah, I do enjoy it. I do. It is my baby. It is my passion and joy
Yeah.
in life.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and it drives great as well. And you know, like we said, it's one of those cars that it's kind of got these two roles. It's a beautiful kind of show car, but actually it drives well. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of show cars out there that drive like a bag of bones. I just have this feeling, you know, they look great, but when it actually comes to what they drive like, especially these cars on air and slammed things, they must just drive awfully. This drives just like a Mini, just like you'd want a high performance Mini to drive.
Correct.
And it's pretty antisocial as well. But guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Let us know what you think of Vince's Mini, because it's quite something else. Put it in the comments below. But I hope you've enjoyed that one. If you have done so, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come. I will also put Vince's Insta details on. I'll pop them up a few times during this film anyway. Head on over to Instagram, give him a follow, because you've got always put some nice pictures of you winning car shows normally. Well, let's just give these guys a pop and a bang as we go past. You do that a lot in this car. We're going to pop and bang our way back to my car, and I'll see you on the next film. Take care, guys. Drive safe.